Davidson. Pair of southpaws here.
And a very bright southpaw here. I shouldn't say bright, flashy. How's that? She'll sparkle her way to the line.
Miller-Mackie's first shot.
And looking for the wall shot, does not carry out the 9 pin.
Miller-Mackie, the island, had started from the #1 position at WIBC Queens. She lost that. She had started from the #1 position at Samstown last November and came in second in that one. She told us she's very glad to be the #2 seed here this week.
Well, Bill, she has 4 titles from that #2 seed. A lot of people would almost rather be in that second position. It gives them a little bit more of an opportunity to get a game underneath their belt if they can win and then move on. They're a little bit more comfortable than the top seed coming on a little bit on the colder side. And in the past, this is what's happened to Dana. She's been the top seed when she's come on. Things have not gone her way. She's been on the colder side, and you know, the #2 or 3, 4, or 5 player, whatever it may be, somebody's beat her.
Also, when you're the #1 seed, you have an awfully longer time to wait, sit, as Dede Davidson, who hasn't been sitting but playing, is able to strike her first attempt. How about the difference between being #1 and #2 and the time in between matches? I mean, that's a big difference.
Well, it is, and I just mentioned a little bit about that, Bill, that the fact that that #1 seed is often the wings here. The #2 seed gets a chance to come on and bowl that game underneath her belt. It's a little different for Dana, though, or any player. If you ask them, would you rather be that #1 position, they'll always tell you yes, simply for the fact that you can't finish any lower than second. And but they're always happy with qualifying second, because it seems that a lot of events are being won here lately by the person in the second place position.
Davidson leaves a 7. See the average. We've talked about the fact that she has bowled extremely well here on the TV pair, 41 and 42.
Dede Davidson changing balls to shoot her 7 pin.
Looking for the 7 and gets it. Dede had told us that she was so concerned about straightening out her shot. I mean, she was adamant about that coming into the TV round here.
Well, she watched Dana all week too, Bill, and how they played the lanes. They could play a little bit off of each other, try to line up off of each other. And she said, you know, watch Dana, because I asked her about the fact that she was staying underneath the ball, keeping her hand underneath the ball. And a good look at Steve Mackey, Dana Miller-Mackie's husband.
From Australia.
Now residing in Texas, the 2 of them. But as I was mentioning, Dana Miller-Mackie stays really far underneath the ball, comes through it very hard, gets the ball going long, and then making a nice break. Dede was watching this, said, this is what I've got to do.
Second frame for Miller-Mackie.
Oh!
Leaves a 5.
Leaves the head pin.
Well,
True tap. That's the domino effect. Sometimes you even see a strike coming that way.
Miller-Mackie last year, excellent year. 3rd on the money list, but this year coming in to this tournament, 16 on the money list. And she talked about the motivation of the higher purses in the fall, because she really hasn't been among the top bowlers where she normally is, and she gets the head pin for the spare.
Well, her fall last year, Bill, put her as an outside chance for Bowler of the Year. Really came in so strong that people were not counting her out when the Bowler of the Year race was going on. They were saying, hey, if Dana Miller-Mackie could do this at Samstown, or which towards the end of the year there, she could possibly grab that honor away from Leanne Baird or Donna Adamek, who was also in the running.
This is her 3rd TV appearance this year. Leaves the 10.
Player that we have not seen get a lot of breaks lately on the telecast. It seemed like she really struggled. She was leaving a lot of solid pins. Matter of fact, her husband, Steve Mackey, said the last 5 shows I've seen Dana bowl on, I felt like I've brought her bad luck, so I'm sort of staying off in the wings here this week.
Miller-Mackie was 4th in this tournament a year ago.
She said she bowled a lot over the summer break. A lot of events, scratch events in Texas going on. A lot of good players, she said. She went up against a lot of the men down there, and that really strengthened her game, her competitive nature. She comes from a very competitive bowling family.
Father, mother, and brother are all pro bowlers.
She started very late in her career, but very unusual. She started at the age of 21. She got her BA from New Mexico in physical education, so she had other career aspirations.
Davidson with a strike, meanwhile, in her third frame. She's now in front by 2 pins.
Very close match by these two left-handers. Playing very close to the same area of the lane, can line up, have very similar games, very hard, keep up the ball speed. One thing Dana had mentioned to me is the fact that she did struggle quite a bit in the beginning of the year. If you saw players, we talked about Sue Neidig winning her first event, much more of a slow, deliberate player, comes around the ball quite a bit more, whereas Dana and Dede really stay under it and the ball speed. So she had to work on different things like that, and it seems that the fall she can throw harder. The characteristic of the bowling centers that we go to, she just fares better when she can really be natural and keep up that ball speed and stay underneath the ball.
Davidson with a double. So Miller-Mackie now in the fourth frame is down by 12. 3 straight spares to start for her.
Miller-Mackie with that unique 3-finger grip. Hurt her arm last year.
Strike there. Husband likes that. Miller-Mackie talking to us about how the weights, she's hit the weights to try and overcome some of the trouble that she has in that left rotator cuff.
Yeah, she last year also, she had a pretty high backswing, was really trying to force the ball through, keeping that ball speed up, got some pain up there in the shoulder and her arm, and trying now to lower the backswing, trying to relieve some of the pressure for the rotator cuff. Re-rack by Dana Miller-Mackie. She is allowed 2. That was the second re-rack. If she wants any more, she'll have to consult with tournament director Wes Pye.
5th frame now for Miller-Mackie. 2 in a row.
And Dana Miller-Mackie all the way to lane 37. She wanted that. She knew she threw that well, and if anything else stood, she was going to be highly upset with that one. Let's see where Dana Miller-Mackie went here. Perfect shot.
Come on back. Come on back, Dana. Come on back.
She's going to wear herself out. That's part of that physical education she's into, or, really working out here.
Davidson's up by 2. Looking for 3 strikes in a row.
Oh, my. Oh, yes.
Talking about the breaks for Dana Miller-Mackie and her opponents in TV rounds, and that's another example of that. Miller-Mackie opponent getting a great break.
Well, this would have been a bad break if they all would have fell out. I always call this a TV shot. Watch the head pin. Boy, I'm not sure which pin there caught the 10, but that head pin came off the wall and caught the 7. If that would have stood, that would have been a terrible break for Dede. She threw that ball great.
Yeah,
Yes.
There you go. Davidson with a turkey now, up by 12. This is her 6th frame.